So I just wanted to share a little demo on how to make a modular sign where it's all brought together in pieces instead of bringing one giant 750-pound sign to the job. And this is something that one person could actually do with some creativity. So the posts I set about 3 days before I brought this actual sign, and here these parts are rough redwood, you know, they're 1x materials, so those are 1x8s cut and glued and screwed together to make these column boxes that slide right over the pressure treated posts in concrete. And at the bottom of these posts I strategically placed metal brackets, galvanized metal brackets that those posts sit on. And now I'm installing a 2x4 brace into the columns to brace it together, to hold it together. And I just got to pull it tight up against the 4x4 posts. I made the width of the 4x4 posts the measurements that would fit the outer edges of the columns, so that I could screw it from the outside, right and left. You'll see later. Now I have a ledger that's going to go flat on top of that 2x4, which is where the panel will rest. And that 2x4 is basically for rigidity, for strength, to hold the sign panel in place, because you'll see where the sign panel is made up of multiple materials, and then there's small sign panels on that larger sign panel. It's about 5 feet by 5.5 feet, the entire sign panel. So this is where the actual sign panel is going to rest on top of. And all the screws are either stainless steel 3-inch star bit or zinc coated finish screws, star bit finish screws. So the finish screws were made in places where you'd be able to see it, where I connected, made all the connections, fastened all the material together. And these are what I'm putting in now are the stainless steel screws. For exterior use, I only use stainless steel to coat it. And these are the trim pieces that are going to be where the sign panel is going to butt up against and secure while I'm fastening it to the post. And I kept the posts loose, both you know, plumb and level, so that I can easily slide in the sign panel, and then I'll just tighten it up with screws after it's set in place, because the 2x4 brace below brought it to the right width. And now I'm installing the side trim, so when I put the panel in, it doesn't fall over. It rests right up against that. And this is a lot easier to bring a sign to a job site this way, because number one, it's easier to put in a small truck, which is what I have. I can put it all in pieces and I don't have to worry about it falling. Also, it's something that one person could do because they're in relatively small, light sections. And especially when you're using like redwood, it's a light material. And if you're using 1x, now it's time to bring in the sign panel. Now this is a little heavy. That's cedar 3-lap siding that is fastened to a pressure treated frame. And those are, the whole thing is, I would probably say it was around maybe 65 pounds, just from the weight of it, feeling it. Now a tenant has come over to see what I was doing. Yeah. Which one are you? The doctor, the dentist. Oh, you're the dentist?
like it? Oh, good.
Nice.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. Glad to have it done.
Yeah, it's better.
She was happy that the sign was going back up because it's been a while. It got knocked over in a storm. The base of the posts from the previous sign had rotted away, and in the last storm the whole sign just fell over, and it was heavy. The sign person actually used 8x8 redwood posts into the concrete, into the ground, and that's usually going to be an issue because redwood is, without being treated properly, it's going to rot away. And that's why I prefer actually to do these kind of module signs, especially just putting in the pressure treated posts and then wrapping those posts and then keeping the sign up off the ground, because it'll last longer. And also, if you need to do any maintenance, it's easy to remove and take apart. And if you needed to change anything or replace anything because it got damaged or something, then it's a lot easier to replace it this way than pulling posts out of the ground that you put in concrete. Much more flexible. Now I'm putting in the trim that hold in the sign panel. And I already secured the sign panel into the columns, the 8x8 columns. So this is just now securing everything in, locking it all into place. And I went ahead and put in the sign panels back at the shop, the actual name plates, because I just felt that was easier to do it there, laying down flat than vertically. And then I just encapsulated the entire panel in moving blankets and taped it all up so to prevent it being damaged. And then it was vertical inside the back of my truck, and so I just unshrouded it from its blankets and slid it out from the back of my truck, and then you saw me just hoist it and put it in place. Now I'm going to level up the posts, and I'm going to secure it into those 4x4 pressure treated with some zinc coated finish screws. And those screws are 3.5 inches long. And I also angled them so they're not going to be pulling out or anything like that. So it's not going anywhere. Now I'm putting the cap on. This was a little heavier than, because there's a 2x12 and a 2x8 on top of that. So this one was a little bit heavy, and I'd say probably maybe about 55 pounds, maybe something like maybe 60 pounds. And then getting it up in place. I make it a little loose, like about a 1/4 inch loose, 1/4 inch 3/8, and so that way it'll slide over. And then it's just a matter of sliding in place. And I'm gonna have to go on the other side now and pick it up so it slides down into place. There we go. Locked in. It's level because the columns are level. And I fasten that into the columns with the same screws. And I also attached that address sign also back at the shop. It was just a lot easier to do it there where it's in a controlled environment. Now it's time to put the title of the basically the office center, which goes on the very top, like the cherry on top. And this will be fastened on both sides with 3-inch stainless steel screws, pan head screws, keep it from going anywhere. I pre-marked it, so I had marks already there, ready to go.
I always bring a touch-up kit with the paint and stains, anything that I use, just in case anything gets nicked or anything like that. So everything's in there. And I did that this time, but I did not need the kit. I didn't need anything to touch up. But what I did need was a shovel to backfill all of the landscaping. So I found a hubcap that I'm going to use. There it is, a modular sign. The base of the 4x4 pressure treated post had galvanized L brackets. That's what the Redwood is sitting on right here. They're sitting on a bracket, a metal bracket. They're sitting on a metal bracket right in there, and so keep the redwood off the ground a little bit. This should be good for another 20-30 years. I will be long gone by the time this sign needs to be replaced, most likely. Thanks for watching.